Alright, YouTube, reminder tonight at roughly, I believe it's 9 or 9:30 Eastern Time. One of those two. Is the second presidential debate? Yes, I will be live streaming thereafter. Within the first 10 minutes or so of it ending, I'll be streaming. I'll have my nice cup of tea and I'll come on here and talk about, what I saw and what I think about it. Trump needs to win tonight in order to have a good chance of winning the presidency. If he doesn't, his chance, in my estimation, will decline. WikiLeaks aside, O'Keefe aside, that could save him. But it also would indicate that there's a good chance he'll do poorly at the third debate. Because he performed somewhat poorly at the first. It was underwhelming. I said he narrowly won while expecting him to win, honestly, by a larger margin. On points, I thought he had a victory, but on presentation, it seemed boring compared to what people were used to from Trump. Eerily echoing 2012, Obama was widely agreed upon to have lost the first presidential debate in 2012. Now, I said at the time, again, Obama won on points. It's just his presentation was so lackluster, he failed to attack. It was almost exactly the same as what we saw at the first presidential debate this time around. What could be different, if Trump does well here, then it'll continue to echo the usual happening. Usually what happens is, indeed, someone who has lost the first debate, who seems lackluster and not energized, has done so because they were advised not to go on a full frontal assault, to create, I guess, lower expectations so that the next time when they do well, it seems better by comparison, and then they top it off with the third debate. If he performs poorly, it could be an indicator that he's simply bad at this because he doesn't have a teleprompter and he won't fare well at the third debate. And I can't really make a prediction about who generally is going to be agreed upon in this debate to have won, because it's also a town hall style debate. It's not just Trump and Clinton standing there talking at each other. It's questions being asked by people in the audience and questions from online, and then they answer them. It's more audience-directed rather than directed at one's opponent and with the moderator present. The moderators, by the way, I think it's fairly clear who Anderson Cooper is going to vote for, but their ability to be biased is somewhat limited by the format of a town hall-style debate, so that probably doesn't play as big a role as it did in the first. I do expect you probably will see them fairly obviously favoring Clinton. I think that Trump is going to, at every possible opportunity, attack her on the Goldman speeches, attack her on basket of deplorables, everything else that potentially can be dug up, because I think, hopefully, he's learned from his mistakes in the first debate with not following through with his punches. Clinton, meanwhile, is going to be gunning for him, too. She's going to go on the attack. Whether or not she can make those attacks land is also up in the air. We could see another sort of stalemate debate. It ultimately, though, is impossible to tell who the public is going to say won the debate. It'll probably have lower viewership than the first debate because a lot of people are going to assume it's just going to be boring like the first one was. The third debate, if it's exciting, if it's fun to watch, the third debate will be even more legendary than the first was, and Trump will probably carry it, because if it's exciting, it's going to be because Trump went on a full frontal attack, honestly. But I expect them to attack one another fairly viciously. In such an aggressive debate, I would imagine that Trump has the advantage, as he did during the more aggressive Republican primary debates. But that being said, it's possible he'll fall through again, in which case my estimation is he no longer has a 90% chance of winning the presidency. Trump tape doesn't matter, because right now the news cycle has been gobbled up by the debate, and for the next couple of days it'll be all-encompassing. If he does very well, if he gets some really good hits in, deflects his opponent's hits, looks conciliatory, looks sensible, while also managing to go, aggressive mode and really decimate Clinton, his chances actually rise above, in my estimation, 90%. It makes up for Trump tapes, it makes up for everything else, and once again makes Clinton look weak and potentially vulnerable, because there probably will be at least one more leak between this debate and the next one. We could also see O'Keefe unload what he has. He might be waiting until after the third debate, and my hope is that he doesn't. give Trump more ammo for the third debate by leaking this in the meantime, get it into the public consciousness, really debilitate her ability to fundraise in the last weeks, and you probably destroy her campaign in the process, if O'Keefe has indeed the tape he claims that he has of Clinton ranting about black people or something like that. It would be much more potent than what WikiLeaks has already dumped, even though they've got even better stuff apparently to come. Any further attack on Trump's character would barely matter at that point, because you'd have, the former First Lady slash Secretary of State slash presidential candidate Clinton apparently being a racist on tape. It would be very damaging to her campaign. It would damage as a Democrat more than a Republican. When you think of the kind of people that are serious for Trump, they're energized for Trump, alt-righters and so forth, they're not really that concerned about these things. But the Democrats rely upon minority votes in order to win anything. And so it would decimate her campaign. She'd lose control of Virginia. She'd certainly lose North Carolina and Florida. She'd be in serious danger in Michigan. She'd certainly couldn't make inroads into Ohio at that point. Her campaign would be cooked. It would be done. If O'Keefe does have what he claims to have, then Trump has a 100% chance of winning the election. That being said, it could just be exaggeration. It could be that it's not that damaging, or it could just be, Clinton's staff making such jokes, in which case, yeah, it has an impact, but a lesser impact. As far as the debate goes, though, Trump needs to do well. He needs to do as well as he possibly can. He needs to rein himself in on the rambling, but he also needs to keep his train of thought long enough going that he can follow through with his hits. And he'll know when they're effective, because there will be a reaction from the crowd. He's obviously capable of reading their emotions to some degree. He is capable of completely decimating Clinton's campaign. There's enough dirt there to do it with. Clinton rambling about him being sexist will have virtually no impact, because all of his fans and his critics already know he has what would generally be considered by normal mainstream society, I guess, to be sexist views. It hasn't hurt him that much. He's there calling Rosie O'Donnell a slob, calling the former Miss Universe like a fat pig and stuff, and it didn't have any measurable impact upon his campaign. Nor, by the way, and lest people forget, nor did joking about his penis size at the Republican debates during the primaries. In fact, his support rose after that, and it was little Rubio there that crashed and burned. So yeah, I will be streaming after the debate within, again, 10-15 minutes of it ending, but I can't stream during it. I've got to watch it. I expect it will be more aggressive than the first debate, and I expect the attacks to be more well-aimed, but I'm not certain about that. I can't make an avowed in-stone prediction about the course of this debate. I can give Trump the advantage because he doesn't have to hold back, and because it's so likely to be sort of a pit fight, but that advantage is very slight indeed, unless he can maintain his coherency, and it's not entirely clear he'll do that. If he follows the traditional trajectory of the outsider, he'll win this debate, he'll win the third debate by an even larger margin and go on to win the presidency. If he doesn't win this debate, if he's agreed upon to have underperformed, to have done poorly, and Clinton wins, that's out the window. And we can say certainly this is the true chaos election, because absolutely nothing is following the standard trajectory that we would expect from any sort of mainstream candidacy. That's about all. Peace out.